Welcome back. The Trump administration appears to be escalating efforts to vindicate the president's still false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. A new piece in The Atlantic details how both the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are now investigating the 2020 election results in Arizona. We know that they made efforts in Georgia. This is now a new state. What's more, the administration has ordered the creation of a small task force to probe election fraud claims in other states, too. Want to bring in the co-author of that piece, staff writer for The Atlantic, Sarah Fitzpatrick. So first, Sarah, I think to people who might just be going through their brain archives and saying, wait, didn't the Trump campaign at that point in 2020 try to investigate and file lawsuits for recounts in all of these states? The cyber ninjas were in Arizona. They found nothing that would have meaningfully changed the results. And yet, here we are again, but with actual government agencies and apparatuses behind the investigation. Just talk us through what's going on.
It's a really wild development, Allie, and I think it reflects the fact that the Trump administration is trying to cast doubt and throw every single thing that they have within the federal government at this issue, regardless of what's been done before, regardless of what the evidence might be. And I think why it's significant is it shows that this is what they want to use their resources on. This is what they want to use time and attention on. This is what they want to use taxpayer money on. But also, the Department of Homeland Security does not work in this space. Yeah. They are taking agents away from sex trafficking. They are taking agents away from drug cartels to reopen something that the agents themselves at DHS has said, we don't even know where to start. And we could tell that from some of the documents that we obtained. So it's really I worry sometimes that we as journalists say people are sounding the alarm and the public kind of tunes that out. But this is a moment that people in this space, in law enforcement, elections, even the intelligence community are saying, we are sounding the alarm. This is alarming.
And that is just because a government is now coming in and saying we need to relitigate something that has been already litigated. A president has already served in the election that he won, and we're doubling back 5 years, 6 years now into history. I mean, to what end? What does it serve? And to that point, where might they explore next? Because they did Fulton County, because they're now doing Maricopa County. I mean, these were counties that we had reporters on the ground in for months for the election because they were so central and important.
So my reporting suggests that the Justice Department has a very active effort underway to go into as many states as possible. They are looking into possible investigations, possible claims. They are talking to people that previously were totally never taken seriously by the FBI or other federal agencies, who are now having very long, very extensive meetings, sharing information that has often been debunked, but that is being taken very seriously, not just by the Justice Department, but by the White House. So I think we should expect to see this type of thing happening in multiple states. And I think we should expect to see other agencies coming to play in this space. And you're asking, is there a grand plan here? With the Trump administration, that's always a little bit murky / can be a false thing to be looking at because they're trying everything at once. And in part, I believe that it is to cast doubt on the election, people's belief in the election. But I think it's also to vindicate the president. The president has said he wants this. And for these cabinet members who need to keep their seats, they have to make the president happy. And I think that's part of the dynamic we're seeing here.
I also wonder, when you talk about the fact that they are now going deep, basically, on debunked conspiracy theories, if you think that's because they've put election deniers and conspiracy theorists into key positions, thusly giving them the full power of the institutions that they are now a part of, that they once railed against, and allowing them to, institutionalize conspiracy theories.
Look, I think you can see it in the there's 30 states that are litigating, trying to prevent their voter rolls that the Justice Department is coming over. When you look at the attorneys who are representing the government, making claims to federal judges, these are people who have raised doubts or cast doubts on the integrity of the 2020 election previously. So these people are in positions of power. And I think one thing about our justice system is that generally judges defer to the government because there is a presumption of good faith and there's a presumption of regularity. And that's where, you can really, quote unquote, weaponize the justice system, because the checks and balances are much less, unfortunately, than maybe ours needed.
Yeah, I think this is a really important thread for us to continue to follow, not just for what it might say about 2020, which we know Joe Biden won that election. We've seen this litigated before, including by Trump's own lawyers, people like Pam Bondi and Rudy Giuliani, for their efforts across multiple states, but then also what it might portend for the 2026 midterms. There's been a lot of muddying the waters and attempts to discredit the U.S. election system by this administration ahead of that, and of course, ahead of 2028. We're going to keep a close eye on this. Your reporting is really, really important. Sarah Fitzpatrick, thank you for coming on. And if you haven't read it yet, you can. It's available online now at The Atlantic about Arizona.